All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've done a lot of these live streams so far, and every one of these has been plagued with some kind of technical difficulty. We're gonna try to get through this one 100% bug-free. Let's see how we do here. So I'm really excited about today's guests. I've got Paul and Jeff. They run the YouTube channel, Aggressively Average Anglers. We have watched their videos. I've watched them for quite some time. They do a really good mix of both entertaining and informative. They do reviews. They do, they have a lot of fun. So a lot of us can kind of get a little too serious sometimes on the ins and the outs and the specs and the boring stuff. And don't get me wrong, a lot of us like to nerd out a little bit on that stuff. But these two do a really good job. So you haven't checked their channel out already, please do so. They've been doing it for quite a while. They've got anything from tackle to kayaks to everything in between. And definitely, I think you'll enjoy it. So we're going to go ahead and bring them on here. How's it going, guys?
What's going on? Thanks for having us.
No, appreciate you coming on. I know we all kind of do our own things here, but sometimes it's just nice to, come together and kind of cross some paths here. So definitely appreciate you guys being here. So, yeah. Man, really first question I got is, obviously how long you've been fishing? And secondly, what got you into YouTube? What motivated you to hit that record button?
How long we've been fishing? Not long enough. What got us into the YouTube? Peer pressure. End of answer. No. How long have we been fishing? Paul's been fishing a little longer than me. We've both maybe dabbled with it in our younger years. My dad used to take me out on the boat on Lake Huron, Michigan. I fished for bluegill as a kid in our backyard pond, but the way my dad fished, I was like, I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. and load into your boat and watch you back down the ramp and yell at other guys and then go catch perch on, downriggers. It was super boring. And then took a long time off. And then Paul was, when were you getting back into it, Paul? I'll let you cut in on this part.
I don't even know, man.
You look so angry there for a moment. You're just like, when did I get into this? I should know this.
Time's a construct. I think, let's see.
College?
It
would have been college,
2000 and 15, something like that. 13, maybe.
Oh,
12.
after college. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so I was late onset hunter, late onset fisherman, late onset everything. I lived in Minneapolis right out of college. I did fish a little bit in college, but it was I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything. And actually my wife's dad bought me a fishing rod, and then I would fish at their cottage on Lake St. Clair, just from the shore. And
what a way to get into it.
That's so awesome. It's a good way to get. Yeah, he got me into it, and mostly it was just helping kids and having someone kind of, hey, what's this knot? Hey, you're catching everything from carp to muskie to smallmouth, right? Just from the bank. And
so cool.
Yeah, then I bought a boat when I got my own apartment, and then the boat was too big. It was a pain in the neck. It cost too much money. I hated fogging the motor. I hated carrying everything in because I didn't live in a nice place, and so I had to hide all my stuff. And I was, this is stupid. And then Old Town had just come out with the Predator, so I bought a brand new Predator and paddle only. I bought the MX because I love river fishing, and it's been all downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, he got me back into it is what happened. So we all moved all over the place after college, and we ended up back in Michigan. That's how it works typically in Michigan. So yeah, I had this spot. There was a decent pond right by my house. And then I was like, yo, you like fishing? I want to do some fishing. Come over. So he came over, we went out, we caught 35 bluegill, filleted them up at the house, ate them, had a great snack. And I was like, I think I love this. So I went out and I bought a $100 kayak on Facebook Marketplace. And I started fishing with my Gander Mountain combo I got when I was 14 that I never used from my dad that had dust all over it, and just started accruing tackle. And then I started posting pictures of it. And some guys that I was working with at the time, they're like, you're always posting pictures of fish. I went to the CrossFit games as a spectator, not as a participant, but I went to watch the CrossFit games, and there was a pond there, and I was fishing while the competition was going on. And they're like, what are you doing? So I posted a picture of this fish, and then the guys I work with, they're like, dude, you just do YouTube. And I was like, I I don't want to do that. And I pushed him off for like 3 months, and I was like, fine. I have a GoPro because I owned a gym at the time. We used a GoPro Hero 3. And I was like, I have a GoPro. I'll record it. So I did. And then after like a year, I dragged his ass into it because he was fishing with me, but he'd be like, if you go early on, he's like behind the scenes. He's like in the back and he's like, go fish over there. We should go do this. And like we go do it like he does now, but on camera. And then yeah, and then I was like, dude, just do this with me. So he started doing it with me for like 2 years. We did the channel, and then we were like, well, it's not Burley fishing anymore. It's not me. That's my last name. That's where that came from. I was like, it's us. And what do we always joke about? Being aggressively average at everything. So then we decided to like flip the channel, which we did last year, and it's been no looking back since then. And it's been a blast. Actually, somebody commented like yesterday, Paul. Yeah. They're like, what happened to Burley Fish? And I was like, dude, that died like 18 months ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So fishing is what got me into kayaks. I grew up fishing as a kid, and very similar to what you were saying, I had a long layoff. So, I growing up as a kid, catfishing off the bank, chicken livers and, worms and minnow traps. And then, when I turned 20, I grew up a little bit and had to get a job, and that job sent me all over the place. And I didn't start fishing again until I was probably in my mid 30s. So I went quite a while there, and, getting back into it. And then a friend of mine that I went to high school with, he was in the local paper here, and he was standing up fishing from a kayak. Of course, back then I'm thinking,
how?
What a dumb idea. It was like, when I think of kayaks, I think of like, a little sit-in kazoo type thing. You see him at Walmart. I'm like, and he's standing up, he's got like rods coming off the top of this thing. And I'm like, why don't I'm just like every other clown out there. It's like, why don't you just get a boat? So, and then, fast forward it, COVID, me and her, we were looking for something to do. I was in the insurance industry, oddly enough. I've just always been in some kind of sales. So, and then, we had, our office was closed down due to COVID, and, we had a lot of time on our hands, and, we're at the grocery store, and we go to the farm supply store, and, you got kayaks just standing up as far as the eye can see. And, I'm like, okay, that looks like it'd be fun. And then there's a local store here that, I manage now, but, we were customers. And so we spent a little bit more. We actually were one of the few people that started out with quality kayaks, and, these were just wreck kayaks that we can just throw a pole on. And I'm thinking, man, this is, we just kind of want to explore a little bit. We're blessed. We have a lot of water around here. So, we have 2 large lakes. We have Buffalo National River. We have a creek that's just loaded with smallmouth. And we just kind of saw it as a way to get back to floating. And then, of course, like the second trip, I take a rod with me.
No, it was the first trip.
Was it the first?
It was the first trip.
So like we turn, how fishing on a river, especially, we talk about, river fishing being your passion. You can turn a 3 or 4 hour float into like a 12 or 13 hour float. And I'm just wearing her out. Just like, hey, it's like this looks fishy over here. And,
oh no, so, it was longer than I thought.
Yeah. And then it was last year, me and some customers, we went on a fishing trip on the Buffalo, and it was about a 6 hour, it's like the Gilligan's Island theme. We just went out on a 3 hour tour, and, 4 years later, I come back home, and, it's like, man, the fish were biting. We just couldn't leave. We left out at like 8 a.m. We fished 3 hours at the put-in spot. And then I didn't get back home till like almost midnight, because we caught easily well over 100 fish. And like, I found a lure hanging from a tree. I took that, tied it on. I literally caught like 50 or 60 fish. Smallmouth. It's one of them little Rebel craws.
Oh, and,
which one? Spring cod, the bright brown, the dark brown, the red?
Yeah.
The red, white, and blue.
The light brown, like the natural brown and green color.
That's and the one.
It was so, it wore me out. We were catching so much. And then there's no signal. So, by the time we got back to highway, it's like almost 11 o'clock. And I'm thinking, holy crap. And she's not a jealous person at all, but I'm thinking I would be worried sick. Cause like, I
got one for you. I bought a fly rod. I wanted to test it out. I lived in Kalamazoo. My wife lived like an hour away. I am fishing, and I go to take a picture of a fish that I catch. Cell phone flops in the water. This was pre-waterproof iPhone.
Yeah.
Deceased.
She gone.
I continue to fish for like 6 hours. It's like
That was-
11 o'clock. I get back. I pop open a beer. I haven't talked to my girlfriend at the time, now wife. And unbeknownst to me, she had called every person
Everyone.
that I knew. People that lived in California to try to
People
figure
that
out where
lived
I
in
was.
Virginia.
Okay? Like 2,000 miles away. And
Yeah.
my phone was just sitting in a bucket of rice, me thinking that I was going to somehow salvage it. And her brother-in-law lived like a couple miles away, comes knocking on. I lived in the terrace floor. So I'm like, I'm like playing video games or something, you know, at midnight, drinking a beer. He knocks on the window, comes in, tells me that I have ruined someone's life, unbeknownst to me. And and then so we drank a beer, and he texted her and said I was fine.
That's such a classic. I was also thinking when you were talking about fishing the ramp for 3 hours, I was like, we do that all the time. We're like, we're on the water. We're so excited that we're just tying stuff on. We're like, we'll just fish here. Like, we don't have to go find anything. It's probably here. It's fine.
My wife just texted me. She goes, I thought you were dead.
She did. She did. It was heavy concern.
Yeah. That was my concern with him. Is I was like, am I by myself now? Like, is that what's happening?
But what did your friend tell you?
Oh yeah, my coworker. We both teach at the local college.
Yeah,
and she's like, he's fishing. He's like, my husband does it all the time.
So her
don't
friend
worry.
Be a solid because I was like, because being gone that long and then that late, we literally had no headlamps, no nothing, and we were just like, we were squinting really hard to try to find the takeout spot, and I mean, because the worst thing that can happen on a fishing trip is catching a fish at the put-in. That's the worst thing. And then I think we caught like 3 or 4 fish right when right at the put-in. We're just floating around this whole part of the river. Like, oh my God. I told him, like, man, there's a lot of other water. Like, maybe we should kind of move down. That started it.
He thinks that's the worst story. The worst story is really when I was coming home and he was west of us, and I'm driving west, and there is a storm following me, and I know he's on the river. I can't get a hold of him. I'm like, well.
Yeah. We didn't get any hail, but it looked very hailish. It was wind, rain. But the fish didn't start biting until it started raining, and that makes things worse.
So then you gotta stay. Yeah, just saying. But dude, the opposite thing of that though is also true. It's like you catch 100 fish. The fish are biting. I stayed out super long. If the fish aren't biting, we stay out just as long.
You can't go home a loser.
No.
And I just have to say, I appreciate the fact that you guys are from Michigan. I'm originally from Illinois, and I actually went to school in a very, very tiny town on a private school in Michigan itself. So.
Oh, nice. Where at?
Berrien Springs, Michigan. It's like I think it's the southwest.
We were
corner.
just there.
Yeah, I was like, that's where we just had.
We were literally there 2 weeks ago.
What are you guys doing in Berrien Springs? There's nothing.
Fishing.
Pawpaw Lakes right there.
There's water. Yeah.
We did Little Pawpaw and Big Pawpaw.
Yeah, I always joke with her. She's lived a privileged life. We had to save up to be poor growing up, so it's always funny. Like, she'll talk about her private school education and her. I always give her crap, but like she had equestrian lessons and piano lessons, and
it's okay to have cool
leather-bound
stuff.
Mahogany, good scotch every.
You ever heard of it?
The worst part is I didn't grow up fishing though.
Yeah,
I mean, it took me until 3 years ago.
Yeah. Now you're all about it. So
now those 12-hour trips, I'm usually with him. So
nice. My wife will have nothing to do with this. I'm like, hey, you want to go fishing? She's like, nope.
No.
I'm like, you want to just float in the kayak while I fish? She's like, nope. I've talked her into it a few times. I'll tie her up in like another, not like bound, but like I'll tie the kayak to my kayak. Don't worry, guys. So she floats in the kayak behind me and she just reads her Kindle. I'm like, all right, this is fine. I tie her up. I put her in the back of the Titan-X. You're going fishing. You're going with me. Members only content. We don't post that on the public channel.
So what's been the hardest thing for you guys to get used to with YouTube? Is it comments? Is it trolls? I mean, what's the one thing that you wish that you would have known before starting out that you know now?
Oh, this one's easy.
It's a full-time job that you do part-time and you make less than part-time money for. That's
Yep.
what we learned.
Yep.
It's so much more work goes into making videos that nobody appreciates, but people who
Yeah.
make videos. Like nobody gets it. And then they'll comment and they'll be like, get to the point. And I'm just like, dude, I was trying to make content. Like I'm just doing my thing. Or they'll be like, this was too long. And I'm like, make up your mind. What do you want? Like,
Yep.
so you're the dancing monkey in the circus is what you are. They're like, dance please, and you're like, okay, and then do the thing.
I kind of expected that. I think for me, the thing that the one thing that I wish I had understood earlier, and definitely the thing that has been the hardest to figure out, is that there's a lot that's not in your control,
Yeah.
and you can do a lot of things really right and have a
Mhm.
video just flop on you.
Yep.
And but there are things that you do that can make you really successful that people still don't understand, that are really good at this, and they just kind of do on accident, or they just started early and they're not
Yeah.
actually really good at this. And you
Yeah.
watch, and like now that we've kind of hit our stride a little bit, because we do treat it like a business and we approach
Mhm.
it with that mindset, and it's totally
Mm.
changed what we do and how we do it, and it's made it faster, it's made it more fun, and the content's just better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish that, God, if there was one thing, it's like that element of, if you do these things right consistently, it's everything is like 10 times better. So
Yeah.
if it was just like the balance between fun and business, you got to find what's right for you, and then
Mhm.
you got to do the business side of it all the time. And if you do
Yeah.
those two things together, like you're going to be really, really good. Like you're going to do a really good job. If I had known that like the algorithm sucks and just comes and goes, but if you do those
Yeah.
two things, it's going to be fun and you will be good. If I had known that, like after the first year, our channel would be like 10 times what it is
Yeah.
right now. I
It
just,
I
took us
agree.
a
that's the
long
one thing. It's a
time.
long time.
We
Long
still
time.
have no idea. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And anybody who says that they know
They're
how
lying.
to do this,
Yeah.
they're lying. They're
Yeah.
lying straight through their face. But I'll, like one other thing I would throw out would be learning to do just one thing per video, because it's when you pile things on and you're like, oh, we fished chatterbaits and spinner baits and this thing and that thing, and like then you lose the concept of the video, and the video has to have a point. If it doesn't have a point, it's not going to do any good. So if you don't catch any fish, you talk about getting skunked. If you catch on, you know, one bait more than the others, you make the video only about that bait. I don't care what else you caught.
So many things though.
It's just
Like,
this thing.
like
Yeah.
we spend more time on title and thumbnail than
What
we
do
do
we
on
call
editing,
this?
right?
Yeah.
We do it all up front. We
Mhm.
do a lot of stuff. Like we just, our process is really good, but like all that stuff's like the business side, and it
better.
lives in this little box. And
Yeah.
when you just understand that like YouTube is going to like, there are some
Ruin
things that
your
are
day.
consistent, and there are some things that are not, and you're gonna do your process, and it's gonna work
Yeah.
10 out of 10 good a lot of times, and it's going to work 2 out of 10 good sometimes, but you'll get way more of this 10 out of 10. And the 10 out of 10, you can actually hit 10 if you do all that stuff. And
Yeah.
man, there
You
was
get
just, God, I hate that we didn't figure it out until like 3 years in, you know?
well, we've gotten, yeah, how you know if you figured it out is it's more consistent. It's predictable, right? Like we can post a video now and be like, it'll do this good. And we're pretty close with it every time.
Yeah.
We do not get the why did that flop anymore as we used to. We used to always be like, dude, what? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, like we've definitely got it more dialed in. Not dialed, more dialed.
Yeah.
It's impossible to dial.
And that's very true. So, and again, I'm relatively new. So, but talking about getting it dialed in, treating it more like a business, and
Mm.
you know, we have a kind of a group on Facebook that's for outdoor content creators, and we're giving advice to people that are getting started, and a lot of it is telling people like just know that you went out and bought a fishing kayak and some fishing gear, and you got a GoPro. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful.
Oh yeah, not at
There's a
all.
lot of work that goes into it, and the amount of people that do that same thing. Gene Jensen, we had him on the live stream here a few weeks ago, and he said something that really hit home on this was, you're in a crowd of people and you're holding up a sign. Does it look exactly like everybody in that group, or how does your sign look different? What are you doing different? Having a niche, having a a pitch, if you will. And me, when I started treating it like a business more and making videos that I thought people wanted to watch versus videos that I wanted to make. And that, are people going to be searching for this, or is this going to answer a question that someone has? And one thing you said too was I would combine my videos in walkthroughs of a kayak and then on the water on a kayak, and I put them into one video. And ironically, it was the Titan X that I started doing the separate videos. I do the walkthrough on the sales floor, and then I would do the on the water. And I was telling her both of those got consistent views equal to each other. And I told her, I was like, if I would have combined them into one video, they would have both got the same views as one or the other. And because not everybody wants to watch a 30-minute video of me talking about a kayak and me on the water and me giving my final thoughts and the pros and cons and then yada, 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 yada. And treating it like a business, and also treating it like you're talking to a group of people that have ADHD, because there's so many options and there's so many, the attention span. And I'm the same way. I
already forgot what you said.
12 different people that
TikTok folks. Scrolling.
It's that first 30 seconds. That statistic is always telling. I think that's amazing that so many people drop off in that first 30 seconds, even if you're doing really well or above average. So
that's why a lot of people put like a couple of fish catches at the front of a video, because it's quickly entertaining and more entertaining usually than the intro. We do the opposite of that. We insert like some B-roll garbage that we were joking around with, like us kicking our feet in the water, and then we go to the intro. But we had to cut that intro down, dude. Early days, our intros were like 6 minutes.
We shoot for like 3 or less.
we shoot for 1, we get 3. And when we're fishing, like our fishing videos, we've got the intro down to like 45 seconds, because it's like, hey guys, we're on the water, we're gonna do this, and then you just do the thing. That. Because you got to get right to it. Our fishing videos used to tank. They used to be so bad. We were like unboxing only or kayak reviews, because I got the Hobie and started, like, the Hobie picked it up for us, really. It started with that. Because I had the Pro Angler 12, then I got the 360 and the 14-foot. And those videos always did well. Anytime we fish, we're like, this is going to get 800 views. And like, that was really bad for us. I'm not saying that's bad for anybody else. If you're getting 800 views and like that's big for you, awesome.
But compared to everything else.
Compared to everything else is what I mean. Like on our channel, we would be like 5K unboxing views, right? Fishing, 800 views. I'd be like, this is terrible. We're terrible. But now they've like quadrupled. Like they're doing so much better. And I think it's just what Paul was talking about, what I said, like do one thing, prepare ahead of time, like, play for the day, figure the day out, and then we film. Like we don't start out saying we're gonna fish this squid bait that Debo's Fishing gave me, because it doesn't work out like half the time. So we're like, let's catch on something, then we at least have a catch on footage, and then we can just talk about that bait. Like, how'd you find that fish? How'd you do that thing? And that has worked so much better. So, I mean, it's just like a formula that you got to figure out, and it's different for everybody, which is why YouTube sucks.
And doing your, talking about intros, one thing that I did that I swore I was never going to do, but I found myself getting into that trap of doing it is, first thing in the video, it's like, hey, support the channel, like and subscribe, do it. And then
we used to do that.
I think everybody does that. And one thing somebody told me that it was actually Chad Hoover. I sent him a link and I'm like, hey, I did this video on this kayak. What do you think? And he says, dude, like and I was monetized at the time. So he said, people just watched an ad to start watching your video, and you start your video off with an ad for your channel. And like, so somebody's watching like 3 minutes of footage before you even get into what you're saying. I'm like, I didn't even realize I'd done it. I'd gone back to doing it. I'm like, thank you. So like now I may have like a little graphic on the bottom that says, hey, hit that button, but because it's always been my thing is if somebody likes your video, they're going to like it. If somebody really likes your content, they're going to subscribe. I don't think anybody says, well, he asked me to like and subscribe, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that. And then, we're going to subscribe. And then even if they did that, they're never going to watch another video. It's just going to be one of those unwatched subscribe lists like we all got. So,
I'd say like early on with YouTube, not now. Like if you're just starting a channel now, no, you shouldn't do that. But like early on with YouTube, you had to do that because people were learning YouTube and subscriptions. And now with like following on Instagram, TikTok really blew it up. YouTube, you don't have to say it anymore. And you shouldn't, because like you said, it can come off as an ad. But we did that for hundreds of videos. So I know how you feel, man.
Or even like 3 minutes into the video, it's like, hey, if you're liking the content, but I get
that's what we do. It's
like
right at the end of the introduction, we'll slide it in and be like, all right, bye.
I like to throw it in. If you can throw it in as a joke, like that is where I feel good about it.
We like to DDT the notification bell.
Yeah, like you can make a joke about it and then like, people's elbow it or whatever. Or you can you can just make a joke about something you're doing. Like if you thought that was great, subscribe or whatever, and then you move on. So I mean, you can sneak it in that way. It's a good way to do it if you're just getting started, because you do need to draw the audience. And like once the audience, there is a level of momentum with YouTube where once you achieve it, like you almost can't mess it up unless you quit. It'll just go no matter what you do. You're going to get some level of consistent monthly subscribers.
Yeah. And I think, it's probably been last fall where I actually started seeing consistency. But then again, I do less videos now, but try to do a better quality, because before, man, I would do like 2, 3 a week sometimes. And then I'm doing shorts, which shorts is another thing altogether. I've almost quit doing shorts. They're nice, but I got to where I was seeing a lot of subscribers and views on shorts, but it just seemed like they weren't crossing over. We weren't getting the views and the activity from the shorts. So I just I'll do one that's based off a video that I did, but just to kind of get stuff out there. But finding out what people are wanting to watch, finding out, listening, obviously listen to the comments for the most part. Because me, and I joked to this one day, it's like I can do a Hobie video and a stability video every week, and I would probably be able to do this full time. That's really what moves the needle right now, because I remember when you guys put out the video, and we'll get into this here too. You guys put out the video where you're moving from Hobie to Who, and
I
was like, when I picked it up like right after you had released it, and I'm watching it, and of course I work for a Hobie dealer. And you'd hit like 6,000 views in the first, hour or two. And I'm like, dang. And I was telling her, I was like, these guys have been in these Hobies for a long time. Like this, this guy's had the warranty issues, and this guy's had maybe not so much warranty issues, but just issues where you need to use the warranty. Yeah. And, we've had those issues too. You got somebody, it was even worse when you couldn't get the parts. And from working in a paddle shop, not getting the parts is one thing. You just say, hey, I know they're going to cover it, but it's going to be 4 or 5 weeks.
You might lose 3 to 6 months. We had that. The drive, dude. Paul couldn't find a drive. We both destroyed our drives. Like I literally took it apart, not realizing, and I got mine warranted, so I lucked out. I took it apart, not realizing that Hobie said if it breaks, the whole thing's shot. It's not like the 180 drive where you can replace all the parts.
Yeah.
Like you could completely rebuild a 180 drive with turbo fins and be happy. But the 360 it's done. It's done. There's nothing you can do. And once I realized, that is completely insane. It's $1,000 for a new one. You can't just make it unmaintenanceable. That's so messed up.
We had a lady here in Arkansas that her one of her metal cables broke. And it's not the ones on the outside; it's the ones on the inside that go through that channel. And I'm looking at
capital T, the cable,
cable. That's what I broke. Yeah.
In the we have some warranty drives just laying around. I'm like, okay, I can take these parts off and get her on the water. We'll turn in the warranty. Nope, nope. I took this thing apart, and it was like
that's what I did.
It was like BBs falling around all these bearings, and it's like
that's happened to Paul.
And I ended up. I was throwing against the dumpster.
I still have some.
I was pedaling my the pedal drive outside of the kayak, and I took a video, and it's just raining ball bearings, those little plastic things, and I was like,
It's
Come
a
again? Those
yeah,
should be inside the drive.
Yeah.
Right.
it's a ceramic
You're gonna
bearing. So
hand place 89 of these in a
there's like
perfect
80 of them.
sphere.
It's
And they're in the
freaking
weirdest places too. So where yours fell out, that's one thing. But even on the 180 drive, on the bottoms, on the hubs, they're
Mhm.
lined in there.
Yep.
And we've had people that try to take it apart, thinking because
and they all fall out.
it's relatively simple. And you
Yeah.
take it off, and all of a sudden they're just bouncing everywhere. I was like, oh yeah,
It's like when that spring for the clicker drag shoots off. You're effed.
Oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
micro
Go buy
spring.
another one. Actually, buy 5 because when you go to put that other one back in, you're going to shoot another one onto your
Yeah,
carpet. and
it's a
never find it
trap.
again.
I honestly think it's a trap that they set in there. It's like the whole thing's like booby trap. Unless
Yep.
you know the inner workings and you've done it before, knowing what spots to avoid and what spots are going to explode when air hits them.
It's like the glitter bomb prank where people ship
Yeah,
each other a box and the glitter bomb just shoots out of your face.
Talking
That's
about
what
the
we
Silk Slam earlier.
to
If you send
the
me one of those,
telemarketers is send them a warranted Hobie drive and say,
Yeah.
you know, they open the box and then the bearings are falling over and and don't forget the fart spray. So
Oh, well, that's just the experience. That was the experience of having it. It was like being
everyone
sprayed
should
with
go
fart
watch that
spray.
video though, because as much as we bash on Hobie, when it works, it is
very true. Yeah.
unbelievable. It's
It's
unbelievable.
the
And realistically,
360 unbeatable.
yeah, and
Like,
I
if
have
it
no
didn't break.
and I have no problem recommending a 180 to people.
Yes,
I don't like the price still. It's still overpriced, but it's honestly, once you get in it, you don't regret the money. I never did.
No.
I never did. The whole time
No.
I had it, I was like, totally worth it.
Super
Like,
happy.
Yeah.
and I mean, like, I paid for it. Like, we didn't get a discount. Like, we
Mm.
paid for it. It was expensive. And
We pre-inflation, it was $1,200 less. So
but
now
still
it's
very expensive. It's not cheap.
It's
still a
not
very
cheap.
expensive kayak.
Yeah.
No.
But I never regretted it, and it was heavy. But once you got on the water, I mean, it was unbelievable. That's the freshwater manatee. It's sick. It was a great boat.
Yeah.
So, and it still has things that, you know, we were talking about the Titan X, and it still does things way better than the Titan X does. It's the most
Keeping
open boat
water
that you
out.
can buy. Period. It's got the thinnest gunnels, the lowest gunnels, the most amount of well thought out accessories of any boat. Yeah, I love the Yak Attack. They're not as good as the Hobie accessories. I'm sorry, but like everything that goes on those A-trails is freaking sick, and it's all rock solid, and it works exactly how it's supposed to. It's as well thought out. It's got the best front hatch in the business. The pre-installed through-hull kits beat the tar out of everything. They're unreal. The rear opening, you can't fill it up. It's massive. It's got the best front and rear handles of any kayak. There's so many things it does, and it's the density of the dang thing. People like lose sight of how freaking dense that hull is.
You can't break that hull, really. I mean, well, you can from the seat cracks. See, a lot of people had the seat crack issue, and then the Boondocks wheels. If you didn't pre-bar the inside the hull bar that Boondock sells with them now, before that existed, people were blowing out the gunnel from those wheels. So there's that. But like one big positive that I noticed on this, and I know you notice this from like rigging many different types of kayaks. The Hobie has the most wireable hull because you can reach into it from any point in the kayak.
The middle, the front, and the back. Absolutely.
The Titan X was a nightmare.
I can get down into my shoulder, even in the worst part. The hardest thing was doing the Boondocks, and you could still get like pressure underneath the far part of the gunnel.
Yeah. And I did when I put the last year I was in a Hobie with the 180 Pro Angler 14, and I'd put the Boondocks on it, and I did the whole I think it was USA Kayak USA that did the video on that, where pulling the string up through there. I'm like, oh, okay, that's it's a lot like
the washer trick.
Yeah,
that was me, dog. I invented that. Boondocks still use that install video because before that they were using the super high gauge wire, and that wire sucked to run through there. So I just did a string and a washer. It was easy, super easy. That changed everything.
I did do y'all's video on the cart. I've still got the custom cart with the PVC, but I there's a lot of videos out there with that, obviously. But I watch y'all's. I'm like, okay, I like that one a little bit better, and then you're measuring it out. And it's so funny that Hobie tells people that you
Not to
shouldn't
store it that
store
way.
them on the bunks. But it's funny because the stands that they give us to display them on
Are the
have
same
really
thing.
thin metal bars, and they go up into those gunnels
Inside.
for those. And I'm like, how is that a problem when the
2-inch
stuff that they
PVC is
send us-
softer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you use a 3-inch PVC, it's not even going into the gunnels. And they're like,
Nope.
well, it's pressing it up through. I was like, oh.
Whatever
Resting
you
on
say,
multiple
guy.
points. So
Yeah.
many points
Better
of
idea.
contact.
Empty out the entire kayak and flip it upside down like they tell you every time. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
And rested on the H rails made of plastic
exactly.
elbows.
Stupid. But the that cart, I made another one. So I
cut
have
us in half.
It's half the size, so it's a lot less expensive. I use decking screws to put mine together, and then bigger wheels, because people with if you got a lip over your garage, or if you got to go over anything, you pay for the bigger casters. But mine, my Old Town PDL 106 fits underneath, and then I have the longer crescent on top. Dude, 2 kayaks on that cart, money in the bank. That thing is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then don't do the unless you really need it, don't do the
plywood on the bottom.
The plywood sheet. I like having a little bit of a workspace, which was kind of nice. But when you go with a much smaller cart and you get rid of that, it cuts the weight down so much that my whole cart probably weighs 35, 30 pounds.
Yeah.
We're gonna need that video.
Yeah. We don't have the Pro Angler anymore. Now she has a Hobie Lynx.
Nice.
She's got a bona fide RVR, and then I've got my river set up. Now my PWR just sits flat on the garage floor. We're one of those couples that we've maybe put our vehicles. We've been here since 18.
We put our vehicles in the garage until we got kayaks.
Yeah, and then that was it. It's kayak storage.
I did the opposite. I bought a 3-car garage.
Yeah. He had to upgrade the garage to fit all the kayaks. Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. And now we finally, not until this year did anybody send us a kayak. So now we have like the Old Towns. We bought the Crescents. We got a discount. I got a discount on the Titan X, and right now we're working on getting a new canoe, and we've got an inflatable coming, which we obviously don't need to store because it'll just deflate. But yeah, same thing. I've got, what's that?
It's a secret.
Oh, it's not released yet, so we can't talk about it.
Gotcha.
But it's from a company that makes inflatables.
Okay.
It's a stand-up paddleboard company. You're going to see it at ICAST this year.
This is their first
it's their
boat, right? So they have a hybrid sup, which is just a sup with a seat. And I'm like, okay, hybrid. Okay, guys, it's a sup with a seat. Got it. And then their other one is more like, it's almost like a
Lono Arrow with no pedals.
Yeah. It's
or
not
like
meant for
the
pedals.
eye attack with a little shorter gunnel.
But it's got a mounting bracket on the back, the power pole bracket on the back for adding a motor. So we're going to put a Bixby on it and run around, and it'll fit 2 people. So Paul and I will go fish out of it together. So it's going to be neat. He doesn't even know because I talked to the guy. I haven't even talked to him about it yet. So yeah, that's happening. Dude, so I ended up back to storage. I put my kayaks on the wall because I found a really nice Amazon bracket. Boondocks makes one. It's twice the price of the one I got.
Yeah.
So this one, it's just because it's not all one piece, like you have to bolt it, but it's adjustable. So I got my 2 kayaks on the cart because same as Paul, I put one underneath. My Old Town's the Old Town's underneath, and then my Shoalie's up on the wall right now. But I've got 4 kayaks pushed up against one side so I can park in the garage, and that's nice.
Yeah. Now, my truck doesn't fit in our garage, but her Jeep does. And, but once we got, we got some tools, and then, obviously the kayaks and the carts and another kayak, and then her paddleboard, and then
when he's
motorcycle.
That's the one.
Motorcycle's got to go. Elvira's got to go inside. Temperature controlled at all times.
So it's like a garage at this point.
Yeah.
No cars allowed. Got it.
So
some people will stuff their garage full of boxes of whatever, but at least you're utilizing it.
Yes. Yeah. We utilize every inch of that thing. Though.
But between fishing, kayaking, motorcycles, and a Jeep, we are broke.
That makes sense. Those are
sorry for
all
having
very
so much
expensive
fun.
things.
Yeah. I don't think that ever changes though. So she's learning that a little bit, but yeah, it's because there's always something else. And I always think it's funny when I ask people, what is your go-to lure or the most what's the most underestimated fishing lure, and it's usually something so simple and so cheap. But then we've all gotten in. I've got plenty of $18, $20 jackhammers, and thank God the Evo came out, because the first Evo, the first two Evos I threw, my leader line knot was just not good enough.
Ooh.
And I'm just like, we're ready. We saw so many bait fish in this little pocket, it looked like grass moving around. Nice. I'm like, okay, we are going to kill these. And then I just slung it, and it just
pink. I've never done that.
It got in a tree on the other side.
Jeff's never done
I've never
not done that.
Lost a chatterbait. Never.
Jeff's never guessed one.
Twice in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I've done that.
I'm done. I'm not ready to do life today.
But you're not done. Do you guys want to?
No, Jeff has to budget double the amount of chatterbaits for the ones he's going to lose.
You guys, all right. So first of all, I haven't lost a chatterbait in a long time. Second of all, I did lose 2 baits this weekend. Actually on Monday. No, I didn't fish. Sunday I went out 2 days in a row. I got out. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. I lost my Megabass XR80 jerkbait to a baby bass. He took it and it broke off, and I was like, how? And then it was gone. The whole leader popped. I just retied it. It was on my BFS setup, and I just retied it. So that was gone. I got that one from one of our subscribers and members. So I'm really sorry, DeBurley, for defacing your property. And then the other thing, I had the Hog Farmer Alabama rig, the mini. I got both sizes. Wait for it, Paul. It's worse than you think, because I haven't told Paul this yet. But so I had it. I fished it for a little bit. Really like the mini, or not the, no, it's the micro, the smallest size. And it's not micro, but it is small. So I was fishing that thing, really liked it. I had the 2.5-inch paddle tails on there. I was like, this is money. I'm excited, but it's not the day for this. It wasn't working. So I cut it off. I put it behind me on the Titan X. And then when I got home, I was like, wait, where did the Alabama rig go? At some point, it was sitting on where the sidekick wheels go, which by the way, they're still out of stock of, and I've been trying to get them there.
We're waiting on like a dozen of them.
I keep messaging them, and they're like, it's delayed. I'm like, dude, really? Like, I'm hoisting this thing. It's not light. Give me those wheels.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was on like the little reinforced section that they have for that. It's like a little divot right behind the seat. And I must have knocked it with a rod or something. Completely just threw it overboard. Not to a fish. Didn't break off. It just fell overboard, which was
a donation.
Yeah, 3 jigs plus a $30 A rig. So I was like, neat. That's awesome. So yeah, I lost about $60 worth of baits. Yay. I
good
love
ones
that feeling.
too.
At least it wasn't a swim bait, but yeah, they were good ones. I was pretty upset to lose those. The XR80 was in one of their weird colors. It's like chartreuse, silver, and red. I mean, it's like a clown color.
Wow.
I've caught on it a ton. I caught my biggest fish of the year on that this year. It wasn't the ideal color to have, but it still hurts to lose that.
Something about that jerkbait, the junior, dude, that thing.
I'm gonna go buy 3 more right now.
No, I mean, it's one of the jerkbait's one of the few baits that I don't mind spending up on, and like that's an example of a bait that it outperforms other ones. The only one that has done as good for me is that the little dye one we got to test that I probably shouldn't be talking about too, because those are sick. Those little ones, they're freaking
super
sweet.
Shallow but suspending, and then they have a couple.
I don't know what it's different.
Yeah,
nothing like it. You'll have something else on, it won't work. You'll put that one on, same color. Yeah, that one's better.
It's
just better.
So brings me to my next question, and I kind of touched on it there earlier. What is the most underestimated fishing lure? And you can break it up into river or lake, but what would you call your personal just go-to? Doesn't matter conditions, doesn't matter how, whether it's new or something that's been around forever. Nice.
Too easy.
Wait,
man.
what did you just show? Because I was buying a Megabass jerkbait. Oh, the DT. Yeah.
The mule fishing donkey tail. It's got the Z-Man stretch, but it's not impregnated with anything. So
it's not a Laztec, so it doesn't like
so it doesn't get
absorb
waterlogged
water.
nearly as much. And it is slightly more buoyant. So it's made by our buddy Ethan Duvetter, and he sent us these. It's probably 2.5, 3 years ago at this point, and they last forever. They cost the same as Z-Man, so they're like $4.50 for a pack. You get a ton in a little tray, which is actually really nice.
Yeah,
they catch everything. So this is their largest one because he's a little, he's an ultralight guy, 2.8 inches on the same exact one of those, and the jig that you can get with it for a 5-pack for $5. I caught 3 smallmouth over 4.5 pounds on the exact same plastic, plus about 15 other smallmouth and largemouth in a weekend. Never changed, never untied, never did anything. They always hammer it. It's I can't explain why it's better. It's like the Megabass. I can't explain why it's better.
Yeah,
but when we have tough days, now granted, we're in Michigan. Michigan is, as I've learned recently, quite different than other fisheries. But if you're in the Midwest, I can promise you, I can give this to your kid, say, throw it there and just retrieve it. It doesn't matter how you do it. You are going to catch a fish, period. You're gonna.
I have the most volume of catches, period. Like if I had to nail it down to one bait, it's those right there.
Not close.
Like it's not in the realm of close or achievable.
And for the money, when people ask us like, hey, I'm new, what should I get? Or, hey, I just got an ultralight, like, or a BFS, like, what should I get?
Start here.
You start there and you learn so much, like real fast, actually. So yeah, when stuff gets difficult and we're like you can figure out real quick, are they chasing bait fish? Is it they have a minnow, like a straight little mini fork tail?
Yeah.
It's the best drop shot bait, lasts forever. But even when you're getting nibbled, like you're learning something, you're like, look, this is just too big, or these fish are really small, time to jet, or color's right, I need something faster. Like you can learn so much just by having like their standard 3 baits, and it can set up your fishing day, even if you're just like a big bass hunter, because you can figure out what's going on, what the little fish are doing, and you can upsize it and figure and use that to go catch big fish.
It's on deck at all times. I was gonna say like not a specific bait, but a technique would be like drop shot. I feel like a lot of people completely overlook drop shot because they think it's boring. They think it's too slow. It doesn't have to be. I'm pretty active when I drop shot. I don't
power shot, baby.
Yeah, power shot. I just hop it around a whole bunch, flip it into cover. Like I have so much confidence in a drop shot. If any day goes bad, I have a drop shot, a medium light spinning rod on board, and I just throw out the drop shot. I'm like ready to have a better day. Let's go. It's that or it's ultralight. And the other thing I would say is a downsized Texas rig is really, really hard
micro
to beat, especially if you go micro. So we flip like 116 ounce to 132 ounce even Texas rigs on we talk about these hooks all the time. The Ryugi Hobbit hook in a size 6 is like or 8, but 6 is like my go-to. It's like a medium size. We actually had this in our video that just came out or is about to come out.
I will be doing it
on this trip
Friday
next week. I think it's next week. So next Friday this will come out. But when we were fishing with Debo and Ethan, he and I rolled up on a spot. There's a fish sort of circling a bed post spawn, and he flipped in a micro Texas on the number 8 size hook, the smaller size, and then it took it, spit it, and I flipped right in after him with another micro Texas, but with the size 6. And I got him. Like we were like, is the size of maybe it was too small. He couldn't actually like get.
We're talking big fish, over 4 pounds. So for Michigan, that's a it's a good size fish.
Yeah, it was around 4. I think it was 3.8. I was just looking at the footage, 3.8. So yeah, I mean, good fish for up here, but yeah, micro Texas, and it's a post spawn trip. That's what we ended up on post spawn. The first day was bluebird skies, like 85 degrees, warmest water we've seen all season long. These fish are just being D-bags. Like they're not playing, right? Yeah. So we had to really work them. And then we ended up at this spur of the moment. Let's go to this other lake. And we were just absolutely knocking them dead. Jack and Jaws, but like at first, chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, like typical stuff. And then it turned into like micro Texas and weightless flukes, which is another bait that I would say gets overlooked now. The weightless fluke, I throw it all the time. All the time. That's all that worked this weekend. Most of my catches were on a weightless fluke and on that trip. So I don't know. Those are definitely some.
Yeah, that's what we did on our river trip. We have a local river here that's Crooked Creek is what it's called, but really, really good smallmouth fishery. And we weren't expecting much, or we didn't know what to expect. We just had some rain. The water level went up and then it went back down. So it was stained, not clear like it has been. And John from Creek Fishing Adventure, you see him, he throws the same two baits majority of the time. He'll throw
spinnerbait.
The Yum Dinger, and he'll throw the Hellgrammite.
Oh, the Helgie,
which is a banger.
I was throwing weightless Hellgramites and just, I mean, we
river,
catching them. It was just insane. And in dark colors, kind of like the swim bait you flashed there. Dark colors, whether it's clear or stained water, just seemed to always hit. Just a little bit less of a guesswork. I like dark colors and I like white. Those two colors, especially on like chatterbaits, the Evos or jackhammers or anything. I like that white or white chartreuse or the green pumpkin.
Yeah, pretty much all the time.
Our green pumpkin jackhammer has caught so many fish, like the paint has come off the blade.
Yeah,
we've
used
it
a painted
so
blade,
much.
and now it's a shiny. And it's the first one. I think that was the first jackhammer I ever bought, and I can't lose it. As where other ones, I snag a couple, that underwater brush that you just didn't know was there or something, and made the business decision a couple of times to go in after it, and then sometimes it's like, okay, I'm done. We've been in really high water at the lakes here the last few years. The last 2 years it's been kind of low, but before that, I mean, we're talking about 15, 20 foot above normal pools. So we're fishing in areas where people are normally hiking. And that's where I was like, okay, what is there a brush there? Like, and then it's really deep in there. And I always had those little paddle, the paddle cutouts there, which those will save you a ton of money. If anyone's wondering about that, but you'll get them sometimes where that brush is so deep you can't even get to it with that. I'm like, man, and I just trying to get out of the mindset where losing one lure doesn't ruin your entire day. I'm like, I just bought this thing, and I'm so excited to get it out. That new toy, not the $1,000 of tackle I've got sitting in my black pack. I've got that one $20 lure I just couldn't wait to throw, and then I lose it. I'm like, all right. We got 4 years worth of soft plastic sitting in the back there, just
endless amounts. I mean, it's frustrating. I think we've gotten better.
I just gave away.
I think giving away a lot of our lures helped us get better at losing lures. We're like, well, I probably would have given it away anyways. So if anything, I'm sad for the subscriber that isn't getting this lure, and I'm not going to let it ruin my day. I lost the hangover 15 minutes into fishing it for the first time. Just cast it off. It was a bad connection knot on my swim bait setup, and just pink gone.
Yeah, it's like my Evo. Yeah, and
cool.
When I say I wish I had that on video. When I say I launched this thing, I launched it like
to the moon.
New rod. It was a chatterbait rod, just really kind of rigid. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get so much distance on this thing. So. And I was taken. It was it was on the water review of the Sportsman 120, the PDL, and so I just reared it back, and I'm just waiting on it. And then I just felt a little tug on the pole, and I saw that white, but it went where I couldn't see it anymore. I was like,
it's the worst feeling. And then like you lose the weight of the lure on your rod, and you're just like, oh no. Trust me, dude. I've done it probably 25 times that I can remember right now.
I'm just saying. That's awesome. That's great. Like we're having fun here.
I watched Jeff lose the same buzzbait, his and then mine back to back in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. From the launch, like
bye. Hey, can I use it? Yeah, sure, no problem. Here we go, buddy. Zips. All right.
It was like our. That was like our secret topwater lake. Every time we went to that lake, we could just bang them out on frogs. And we don't. I like look for frog lakes around here. I'm like, where can I go where I know I can catch on frogs. And this was one of those lakes, and now it's hours away from us because it was back where I used to live. But yeah, it was Excite buzzbait that came in the monster bass box. So we both had the monster bass box, and we're like, let's do a box video where we just go fish all the baits in this box. I lost it before he got to the ramp. He got there. I was like, hey, bud, can I borrow that buzzbait so I can get like a couple, retrieves on it? And then I immediately ejected it from my SLX. My SLX had a knot down in the spool is what I found out. I was like, oh, well, I wish I had looked at that before trying to cast it twice. Oops. Been there, done that.
So I'm going to change topics on you guys because, I mean, we talk about losing lures all the time. But if you could only fish for 2 species of fish for the rest of your life, and that was all you were allowed to catch, what 2 would you want to catch?
Smallmouth and pike. Paul, go ahead.
That was my gut. That was my gut. But I
where it's at, dude.
I switched it. Smallmouth and bluegill.
I was gonna say I don't think Paul could give up bluegill.
Yeah,
it'd be hard, but I could.
When you've seen a bluegill that would dwarf a big crappie.
Yeah, I've caught one.
Yeah,
I've
dinner
caught
plate. Yeah,
I watched my aunt catch one that to this day I can't believe existed, and I'm confident could have been a record if I'd been smart. Like if I had been fish wise enough when that happened, I would have stopped everything.
Measure it,
filled up the kiddie pool, put it in there.
Yeah.
I would have measured it. I would have called the DNR. It would have been it would have been a record. It was so big. I think about it now, and I get like
I think about it every night before going to bed.
Starts boiling. It was so big. When you see a bluegill that big with just like boulder shoulders, like a Sarah Parvin, homegrown.
I was just gonna say like Sarah Parvin is always,
and they're good. Like because that's the thing about pike. Like pike are amazing, but pike and smallmouth like cross over because like they're mean. I like smallmouth. I like to eat them. They actually make really good sandwiches. Pike are delicious too. There's too much crossover, so I need my ultralight fix, and I need my big fish fix, and I'd pick smallmouth over largemouth 10 times out of 10.
That's always an interesting question. So, and one of the biggest reasons I think we ask that is we've talked to a lot of people that basically make their living fishing for largemouth bass, and I always think it's interesting that the people that do that, largemouth are never in that top 2. The 2 things that we hear the most are probably redfish and smallmouth.
That's a good call. I didn't even put in. Yeah, I didn't even.
I wish we lived somewhere we could fish them all.
Exactly.
That would be amazing.
I just went on a trip, not that last November.
I did too.
We caught snook, redfish, and sea trout, and it was incredible. It was incredible. Like I would probably, if I lived there or thought I could live there, I would pick those all the time because they are incredible. They're fun to catch. It's a whole different world. Like they're huge.
So talk a little bit about sponsors. So, and you kind of brought that up in the email we were exchanging there. And I remember your video where you've had sponsors and you kind of got to a place where you didn't do sponsors. Tell me a little bit about what went into that.
Years of working with sponsors. Yeah, I mean, we did it for what, 3.5 years. And during that time, gained a lot of experience, met a lot of cool people, had some cool opportunities, put out an ultralight rod, did a custom monster bass box, got ourselves in front of a great audience. Like I mean, there was a ton of positives, so don't get me wrong with that. And anybody coming up or starting a channel now, they're probably looking at it as like, how am I going to fund my hobby? Like YouTube's not paying you. You're making pennies for a long time from just viewership. So where does the money come from, or where does the equipment come from? So we're not trying to criminalize sponsorship. It's totally cool. Like you should do what allows you to do the thing that you want to do, right? If it pays for the hobby, it's a win. Yeah. And that was the way we looked at it for a long time. What it got to the point of was like, okay, well now we can make money off the channel, and we're making, okay to pretty good money from sponsorships. The problem is that it really handicaps our content. So now we we have to be restrictive in the things that we post on our channel, and then we've got to make videos for their channel, and like
we can't review stuff that we want to review because it's against the contract.
Yeah.
Which sucks. It makes sense on their part from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
We totally get that, and they got to do what they got to do. And at the same time, we're finding out now without sponsors that all those companies are also totally cool with like you doing whatever you want if you just don't take money. It's when you take money, you're like an employee, but you're not, because you're a subcontractor though. So they can just fire you and tell you to do whatever. But you do make money. So when you start accepting money, a lot of caveats come with that, and a lot of
deliverables
come with that. And deliverables was what killed us. So we got to the point where it was like we were doing 3 videos a week, which we've cut down to 2, which is completely manageable. We're like so far ahead now. I'm like, I love this. The stress eroded from our lives when we stopped doing 3 videos a week. It's 2 and a live. That's it. We stay on top of it. But we were doing 3 videos a week at the time. So 12 videos a month plus.
2 videos live and 5 shorts a week.
And 5 shorts a week. And we were doing their videos. So they would call us up and be like, hey, you need, or we'd have 2 videos due. They'd be due a month in advance. We'd be filming them. We'd be filming them months in advance of that. With Monster Bass, for example, they'd be like, we've got a lipless coming out. It's January. Film this for May. And we're like, it's Michigan.
Yeah.
So we went out, we threw it at the ice. We were like, is that what you guys want? So it's like, we're like at the bank talking about it. It's snowing. There's a sheet of ice. And
I have lost feeling in my digits.
Yeah. It's dude, that was like the end of the road for us. They're like, you know what? I'm done with doing the deliverables. Like, we owe it to them. They're paying us money. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's just, it's extra work that we can't afford time-wise. So we had to cut it, and we had to accept.
Another thing too.
You're not going to make money anymore, but
yeah, there's also this big wave of like sponsorship that hit all social media about 6 months ago. And it was like
TikTok did it.
Yeah, TikTok started it. YouTube picked it up. Instagram has picked it up. Now, whenever you get, you don't even realize it, but like if you look back 6 months ago, the number of ads you saw by creators was about 25% of what it is right now. People are selling hammers and toothpaste and T-shirts and trash. And it's like when that hit, we were like, oh my God, this is so much worse than what it used to be. Like,
we wanted to go the other way.
And so everyone was zigging, and we were like, F that, I'm zagging. And credibility was another thing too. Like, people would give us shit all the time. Stuff all the time for,
Too late, you said it.
Yeah, whatever. I am who I am. And so fluent in French. And they would be like, yeah, you only like this, Monster Bass box, or
all you ever talk about is this,
or whatever, is because they're sponsored. I'm like, well, not. I mean, like, yes, but also the reason I'm with this company at all is because I like their product. Like, that's how we started this whole darn thing.
Yeah.
Like,
we believed in it.
We choose who we work with, but then that doesn't shine through when you are a sponsor. And like, you have to. I have to say, like, yeah, that's true.
Yep,
you're right. Like, it's to some degree, even if it's a very small degree. Like, yeah, sure. And so, we felt like that when we walked away from the sponsorship money, we were able to really confidently tell people, like, you're going to still see Buzzbees in our videos, because I truly believe that they have a corner of the market, and I like that corner. It's cool.
Great product.
Same thing with mule fishing. I'm flashing the plastic. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that at all. You can go in my bag right now. There's 6 or 7 bags of those things floating around. That's because I fish them all the time. That's what I give away to people so that I want them to catch fish. Like, and that never went anywhere. And the money went away, but like, that didn't go away. So like, you can watch our channel, and and the Monster Bass rods are still floating around. They still slap. They're great. I don't care what anybody says. Fight me. They're awesome. And it's like, none of that stuff went away. And that was because we believed in what we were saying. But now I can confidently say, yes, I tried the Lose LFS. Yes, I tried the SLX. Yes, I tried this, that, and the other thing, and this is my favorite. You're welcome. And that was also hugely important to us, because the number of people that can say that on the internet
is slim to zero.
It's very, very low. Yeah. So
I'll also say, like, to stack on top of that, the thing that people don't think about with sponsorships too. When we say no sponsorships, we also mean no affiliate earnings. So like, companies, you can say I'm sponsored by, or you can take like, well, here's this code. And then you share your code, and we'll pay you for that behind the scenes. And some people still do that. We don't even do that. Like, companies will always ask us that. We say, hey, we like your product. We love to check it out. Is it cool with you if we give an honest review, feedback? If it's anything our saying that our slogan that we do with them or our spiel is we say, look, on a scale 1 to 10, if it's like a 5 or less, and we're not going to trash it, we're going to call you. 4 or less, we'll call you and we'll be like, here's how we feel. Are you cool if we air our dirty laundry out, or would you rather go back to the drawing board?
Yeah.
Like, try and
well, we're not trying to like
be real with them.
Totally wreck someone's business, because a lot of people that are
it's not worth
it are
it.
small companies, and I'm like, look, man,
I'm not going to do that.
Me bashing you, it might warn someone away from like a product, and we do that.
We could do it for views, but I mean, it's not worth it.
What works better for us would be to say, hey, so and so company X, like your product,
I would love to see
it's really good. We have these 2 or 3 problems; they're pretty detrimental. Is this something you want to work on? If you want to work on it, then we can help you out. We can make a better product that everyone can be happy about. And now I don't have to shred you and come off like a jerk.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, we need to work on this because this is a problem for everybody right now, at least from our perception. And some people are going to be like, F off, dude. And some people are going to be like, oh, thank you very much. Let's work on it now. And then when I make the next video, or when I actually make the video, I can say, hey, they're working on this. It's a really cool product. Maybe wait till version 2 comes out. If this works for you, have a nice life. Do whatever you want.
That's very important to say, because like, especially people from the outside looking in, or they're just they're somewhat new in their YouTube journey. And I feel like a lot of people dive at sponsorships, and most people that have been doing it for 6 months or longer, even, you'll get emails. And like, I know now, don't get me wrong, I've done a couple of affiliate links with like a lithium battery or something, but the amount of stuff that I turned down, or just say, I'm like, well, it's just knowing that it's not going to bode well with my audience, and this comes to knowing your audience too. My favorite thing, and it's a company that you guys were associated with also, Waterland Sunglass Company.
Yeah,
I love their sunglasses. I really liked them. I bought them, and then I did a review on them, and and I don't receive commissions. It's just something that, I got a discount for, and they get a discount code, and everybody wins. But me doing kayak videos and on the water stuff, and, what I like and don't like, to all of a sudden doing a sunglass video, it tanked. That was the first video that I thought, this is somewhat well done. And, I had a pair of the Hobie floatable sunglasses. I had 2 different Waterland sunglasses that I bought. I was like, kind of give my opinions, because you're fishing, you're on a kayak, you need, polarized sunglasses that aren't going to be $300 or $400. And oh my God, and in the comments I got was just like, I'm not spending $150 on a pair of sunglasses. Like, I got it. Like, just saying,
I can't make them happy.
But and it was just one of the, I get now I work at a paddle shop. I manage the paddle shop. So obviously it's important for me not to be sponsored by a kayak company or a kayak accessory company, because it benefits me more to have access to everything and to act, maybe I don't like something that Yak Attack makes. Maybe I do love something that they're making. So it kind of allows me to, a little bit more freedom. And, nobody's coming at me with, hey, we're going to give you $5,000 to do this, company X video. But in the long run, I felt, and when you guys did that video, I feel like in the long run, that really benefits you, because your credibility with your subscriber base, it may not show up in your numbers, but it'll definitely show up, where people value that opinion. And then you become that go-to for, hey, they're not going to steer us wrong. I've been known, and, I've definitely let the people that own the business that I work for know, is like, I'm going to say some pros and cons. That's going to sell you more stuff. It's not going to turn people away from,
That's so hard.
Yeah.
I'd say impossible to get through the paid sponsorship.
Yeah.
Like, we would want to do comparisons, and people would be like, no,
you're
not
going to
with
ruin
this deal.
everything.
We'll cut you off. And it was like, that's how we got where we got.
Yeah,
bro.
Monster Bass versus
you're
MTB.
Chasing my content and my platform. We got here because I showed exactly what I saw. That's why the people are here. And this is why we talked to, so like one of the best conversations we had with anybody was TFO. We were like, I'm not going to say only good stuff. And they're like, that's great. I don't actually give a crap. Like, you do whatever you want. I'm not going to watch the videos. Use the rods, give an honest review, and that's all we care about. And they said verbatim, it's because we believe in our product. I'm not worried about you doing that. I make $100 rod that's worth $200. Period. And it's like, they're not wrong. Like, they are right. And they don't care because they believe in their product. So when someone comes to me and says, say whatever you want, I know I make a good product, I'm like, that's what I'm talking. That's what you're going to see on our channel more than on anything else.
I mean, Busby said that, Old Town said that, Navarre Fishing said that, like Bixby said that. So those
say
are
whatever you want. We make a good product.
Those are that's how we want those conversations to go. And if they don't go that way, we don't work with them. I mean, it's
not really, that
simple.
I feel like a lot of companies are kind of learning that a little bit. Not everybody, obviously, but
they should be.
Just knowing that, okay, if we're going to reach out to content creators to push our product, why would we want them to change what they've been doing the entire time?
Well, you would think.
Or just to be like, this is the best thing, 10 out of 10, no suggestions. I don't believe that at all. I mean, if you
won't get that on our channel.
No, I just gave the Bixby an 83 out of 100, and that was me liking it. I was like, look, it gets knocks because there are issues. It's a proprietary battery. It doesn't have the thrust that a lot of other things have. And there was a few knocks on some of the install stuff I had to do, but I mean,
well, we keep it. We also changed the way that we do the delivery. So it used to be hate this, like that, this sucks, this good.
We got yelled at way too
caveman
much.
style, right? Which is how you feel, right?
This bad, this good.
Yeah. So,
but like
aggressive, right? But then it was like, okay, if you really think about it, like I think the Bixby is a phenomenal example. A lot of people hate the battery. They hate that they can't plug in their own bigger battery.
Battery though.
But it's a freaking sick battery for a very specific subset of people who are like, I don't want to mess with stuff. I don't want to calculate amp hours. I want a battery that floats. I want it to be the size of a briefcase, and I want to get in and out on 3 different kayaks.
Weighs 5
That's what
pounds.
I want. That is so much better for somebody else. That may not be good for me in my kayak specifically,
but that
has a very, very high amount of value for somebody else. So when you start thinking, we talked about this earlier with YouTube and the algorithm, right? And your process. When you start thinking about how do I tee this up to somebody so that someone can understand that it might be a con for you, and I'm going to set that up. It might be something you dislike, but when you really think about what the value proposition is, they're bringing value to somebody else in a totally different way. They're telling you, I'm modular, which means I'm going to be a lot of good things. Oh God.
There's a bear in your living room. I don't know if you guys know this.
You should leave.
You may want to escape. I don't know. But we can keep going if you want.
Absolutely.
Just don't get mauled.
But there is like teeing it up as like, the Bixby is good for someone who wants light, fast, modular, smaller kayaks, right? Versus
switch it from this
2 days to charge up, like 35-pound battery, 15-pound motor, permanently attached. You can only bring it up so far. You can't launch it out the back of a truck. There's so many cons for that other person. And when you start thinking about it that way, it actually becomes way easier, because then I don't have to bash anybody. I can say, hey, this might not be for you. But this might be for somebody else.
Oh, you have to be very clear.
That's where pros and cons come in, though, or at least for me personally, is I'm not telling somebody that this kayak sucks or this accessory sucks. It's just things you may want to think about. If you're a bigger guy, if you're a smaller guy, if you don't, how you transport it, like the
not good in this situation, better in this situation.
So like if that's not a big deal to somebody, then it's not a con. It's just something to think about. The tight necks, like people only ask me about stability. And then I had to do a video on like, okay, when are you focused too much on stability, and what do you lose by going too far on stability? And people will say, well, my review on the Titan X is it's the most stable kayak I've ever been on, and it's very maneuverable. So your stability and maneuverability trade-off isn't so much on that kayak. Like, so there's no trade-off. I'm like, well, it's heavy. The thing weighs like as much as a half-ton pickup. So there's
also
a trade-off.
not free. They're not giving those things away.
Yeah.
And the speed, you're giving up a lot with that flat hull. That's the other
yes,
thing. People look at the
yeah,
Crescent. Yeah, it's a lot, it's not nearly as stable. It's a lot faster
yes, it
with a
is.
lot less energy behind it. It's just that they're different.
But if somebody's trailering it, if they, a lot of people around here, they'll
Yeah.
repurpose used jet ski trailers and have a little winch on it. You're pulling up from out of the water, your hubs are sealed. Yeah, your
Go
weight
nuts,
is
bro.
probably not going to be as big of an issue. But if you got somebody that's wanting to go out solo and just throw it in the back of a truck, a 172-pound kayak is probably not going to be the sauce for them there.
I just
Been doing it for a while. It sucks.
Yeah, I just had a guy at my work was like, "Hey, I want to get a kayak. What would you recommend?" And I was like, "How are you transporting it? What are you going to be doing with it?" Like, there's 10 questions you ask somebody, and we got him down to, he wanted to paddle. He doesn't care about fishing, but he's going to bring a rod, and he wants a front hatch. I'm like, dude, it's the Crescent Ultralight, no question. It's $800. You get all the stuff you want with some extras, and it weighs 48 pounds. You're good luck beating that. But for that specific person, for me, I would never buy that kayak. That's not for me. I have no use for that kayak whatsoever. But it's a sweet kayak. I've been in it. It's fast. It's cool. It's cheap.
You can do 360s in it. It's pretty nice.
It's sick. It's a sick kayak. For the money, it's unreal. But like, there is a perfect or close to perfect setup, right? Or a more perfect setup for pretty much everybody. But that it gets really tough doing reviews because you give it a 10 out of 10 in that situation.
Somebody's mad.
You put someone in a prop setup, right? In a super high weedy lake, we have a man-made impoundment out here. People go and catch pike out there. I would never take the tight nets out there. You'd never make it out. You'd be dead. Nope. You'd call the cops now. Like, not gonna happen. You'd be in a paddle kayak all day. You'd be having the time of your life.
Or a mud motor. That's the only way you can get around. We went out there with a couple of buddies. They had their mud motor and they were just cruising. They went through like all the.
We were in the Hobies. We were dying.
We were so upset clearing
bro.
the drive every 5 seconds. Like, this is the worst. You had to find these channels in the weeds, and then they'd be all over the place.
Yeah, it was horrible. So
it was a nightmare.
It is really important to be like, we did a thing on the Rod Caddy, and people were bashing us like, well, a rubber band can do that, and I'm like, no, it cannot. No, it cannot. Like, sorry,
stretched out piece of chewing gum can do that.
They're not the same thing. So yeah, when you like, it's something you learn over time. But it's true for, honestly, if you want to do a really good review on something, I'd say this for anybody. Really think about, there are a lot of different folks out there doing a lot of different things, and think about the value proposition that product or that thing is trying to do. Do your pros and cons off that, because everything has a pro and a con.
Yeah, my favorite and least favorite thing to do is, and as far as kayaks go, is going on Facebook groups, especially your beginner groups, and it never fails. 2 or 3 times a day, someone said, "Hey, I'm 6'1", 220 pounds. What's the best kayak for me?"
We get that all the time,
and I'm not downing anybody, because like, some people just don't know where to start, and I understand that, but instead of somebody answering it with asking the right questions, and
Native Titan X is the most stable kayak around.
Hobie Pro Angler, and then you can't
go wrong.
You can't go wrong with the Sun Dolphin Aruba.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Like, you're going from one end of the spectrum to the other, and you don't know what kind of water they're on. You don't know what they're on, rivers and creeks. Are they fishing? Are they floating? Are they wanting to do,
are they lying?
Yeah.
Just stretching the truth there a little bit, sir.
And what's your budget? Obviously, a $300 or $400 kayak is not going to perform the same as
the first thing I ask people is, what's your budget? The very first. How much? And I don't ask them what their budget is. I ask them, what do you want to spend? Because they also forget about paddle, PFD. They forget about tracks. They forget about anchor. They forget about electronics. They forget about all that. They forget about
emergency lights.
Much just stuff. There's another $300 minimum that you're pumping into a kayak. Wheels, there's just so much stuff. Even just like ratchet straps. Like, there's just so many things. So when someone comes to me and says, I want to spend $1,000, I'm sending them a $900 or $700 kayak.
Yeah. And the paddle is something that's so important. It kills me to see somebody get a high-end kayak
And a
and then
Workner $20.
get a box store paddle,
$40 box
like
store paddle.
The kid's working in frozen foods the previous day, and now he's in sporting goods, and he doesn't know it, and that's fine. It's just, I put a video, or not a video, but just a photo out on, I think, my Instagram. This has been years ago, but there was this guy that was easily my height and just twice as big, and he was. We're at a farm supply store, and they sell the lifetimes, and he had this kayak sitting next to him, which it was like the kayak wasn't as big as this guy's leg was, and the paddles that they brought up for him. When I was looking at her, I was like, that paddle is like a 200 size paddle. That's a kid's paddle, and this guy is fully grown, and I was like, he's gonna die. But
he will never get in deep enough water to die.
Yeah. I
sink at the ramp.
Won't make it that far.
And I'm not that guy. I'm not going to go in someone else's business and start soliciting customers and telling them, you need to go to my store. Here's my card. Yeah. But like something like this, I'm like, wow, I'm listening to the employee talk to him about this kayak, and he's asking kind of the right questions, but I think he just wanted to get out of there as cheaply as he could. And, they had a kayak there, and they're like, yeah, sure. I'll just give me the blue one and then load it up. But they loaded these $400 kayaks on top of these $30,000 Jeeps. And they had the off-road, it's like, so you knew it wasn't a budget issue, but just not having somebody there to understand the importance of a quality kayak. There was no way that guy didn't dump over at the put-in spot. I've said this a lot. I don't want to feel like I'm bashing people's kayaks. It's just that people get into these things and they eventually upgrade and they upgrade and they upgrade, and you spend a lot more money doing that. I would rather see someone get a secondhand quality kayak than a brand new subpar kayak for what they're doing, obviously.
Yeah, when I was switching from the PA 360, before I got the Titan X, I was all over Marketplace looking for a PA 12 180 drive. It was like, you can get that. You can get Slayers, Titans, the Slayer Max. A lot of people were giving those away.
Yeah.
It was free. Cheaper.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Like $2,000, but it has like a fish finder. It has the sidekick wheels. You're like, okay, that's $5,000 for the kayak there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you could find that. Like, I would go on Marketplace all day.
You don't know what you like. So when my Hobie exploded, I was in an Old Town Vapor sit inside for 6 months. And I forgot how fast that freaking boat is. And I forgot how much space is in that opening. And I'd have 3 rods with me. I'd have 2 tackle boxes, 1 terminal box.
Yep.
And I was hanging with Jeff in terms of numbers of fish, and I was having just as much fun. And, I could carry that thing one-handed, it's 65 pounds. And, I was flying with that paddle. So, and that really was like, man, that's what sent me into Crescent. And then eventually, that sent me into the PDL 106, where it's like, Jeff, how fast do I get in and out of that boat? I don't touch anything. Wheels go down, I walk, I'm out.
It helps, like, if you have a truck cap or a trailer, if you can keep everything in. But if you leave it loaded. So when we were on this trip with Debo and Ethan, we would take a break midday, go back out. We're like, we're not taking anything off. Like, everything stayed on the boat. It makes it really heavy when you have a Titan X with 2 batteries in it, all of the tackle in the back of it. So Paul and I would team lift it. I would just take the XI3 off, and that was it.
I've got an FPV that fits in my little pouchy pouch, and I've got an old hook, and it's just, I love that format though. Like, I'm fast, I'm super fast. I can stand, I can sit the whole freaking day. I can take out all the stuff that I need. I got 5 rods, and it's easy to manage. And it's like, I have the medium size crate, and it's just, honestly, that setup for pond hopping and river fishing, you can, and you're getting out for so little money, and you're getting so much out of it. And like, I never would have picked the 106 over the 120 had I not had that experience of pedaling in a 10-foot sit inside for 6 months. And it just really changed my perspective. It's like, dude, I don't even
Yeah.
actually really like this huge kayak that much. Like, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually not enjoying it. And then,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, being paddle only for a while, it's like, I actually really like slim and trim. Like, no, I set up now, I don't even change anything. I re-up my
Yep.
hooks like I'm down to 3 drop shot hooks, but I only keep 10 with me. Like, I don't carry all my drop shot hooks. Like, my terminal boxes are 30% full. And it's just my whole mentality changed. And I guess all that to say, buy a used car, get a nice one that you know you're going to get through, and you think it's going to be what you want to be. And then after a year or two, kind of think about like, man, like, do I actually like this huge, gigantic, or really micro, ultralight, or whatever it is? Because most people want to go like to one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
And you find out you maybe you bought a kayak thinking you're going to put a big motor on, all this other stuff, and you're like, I never fish a huge lake. I don't need a huge motor. It'd be cool, but like, do I need to go spend 3,000 more, or can I go get a top of the line, medium sized, 106 for the same price as just the freaking battery? Like,
Yeah.
Your perception changes when you put 5 years into kayak fishing.
And I'm the opposite. I enjoy.
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah,
no wrong
Well, that's
answer.
the point.
That's my point. There's no wrong. Like, Jeff and I were talking about, like, he was like, "Oh, I was gonna get this kayak and that kayak and that." And I was like, "Jeff, what are we doing here? You love
you want a Titan X.
You want a
Titan
X.
Go buy it.
The front with the motor guide, and you want you want it all. And that is the right answer.
What are we
Jeff.
talking
I don't
about
want
here?
that. But I was like, what are we talking about here? It happened. We were in the basement. I was like, what are we talking about? Like,
we know what you want.
Oh, just do
Shut
that.
up and get
Don't have 3 kayaks. You don't even want 3. You're never going to use the other one.
I actually think the industry is going to transition back to throw and go. I don't. That doesn't mean that we're still not going to make the lake fishing setup.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're going to see more of that, obviously, but who's really in the river fishing game? Nukanu's got the Flint, Crescent's got the Sholey, Bonafide's got the RVR, and now Jackson's got the Coosa X. And I really like that kayak, but it's still
Jackson.
Yeah, it's still kind of a
Jackson doesn't get the joke.
It's kind of nimble, in my opinion, but
they don't get the joke, man. Their kayaks are heavy. They're so heavy. And then, like, when they think they're giving you like a premium feature, it's a standard feature on an Old Town.
Yeah. And they're at like Hobie prices, and
they charge you for it. And you're like,
you look at like the NAR, and you're like, why would I any day of the week pick this over a PA12 at almost the same price? Like, I'm just not gonna do it.
The NAR was really a big miss, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they know that. They know that.
It
was when we saw it. It was. I think what's happened, and again, I like Jackson, but on that kayak and in that avenue that they went down, I feel like they were too busy chasing Hobie and not doing what has made them successful.
Yeah, 100% what happened.
When you look at the NAR, you got the little rod stagers, you got the in-hole, and granted, the Titan X has got some of that too, but it looked like a Hobie Pro Angler without the Hobie name.
It really
on
did.
It. And they
different
got
pedal drive.
they got in some issues with plastic on it, and they got in, the weight capacity was not what they originally thought it was going to be.
It was really low.
It makes no sense, dude. Some of that stuff, you're like, what are you talking about? And the gunnels, those fat gunnels, compared to that's the thing about Hobie, that, again, if you're not a kayak nerd, you're probably not going to notice this, but the gunnels are like 2 inches wide, not even.
Yeah.
It's the widest interior other than the
interior space is so big. There's there's like 6 inches on either side of just open space outside that monster seat. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you could see where you could have that with the Titan X, where it's thin on the gunnels right behind the seat, where you have a spot for a box, and where they have the track opening. Yep. But like, even on the track opening, you can't fit a full-size Busby in the track. You can only fit a thin box. And I was like, well, that sucks. But like, it's you look at those spots, and you're like, I kind of wish it was this all the way around, because I mean, it's got plenty of room. Don't get me wrong. I shouldn't be complaining about my living room that floats, but like, there are things that you kind of wish in certain spots where you could have a little more room, because I don't need that giant gunnel. I just don't. The track running all throughout, love that. But yeah, I would love a little more opening on the inside. I mean, it's got to be, you know, part of their stability, part of the design is what it is. But yeah, it felt like with the NAR, it's like when you see, like, they looked at a Hobie, but they never deconstructed it. They're like, I'm going to make exactly that from pictures. Yeah. They wound up
but
with
like
this,
they didn't know,
and they didn't get the buoyancy, the balance, the weight limit. Like, it just wasn't the same.
But like there wasn't a concept. Like Hobie had a concept with that PA.
Yeah.
The PA was like, they knew exactly what they were trying to make. They knew it. And then they knew what the problems were, and they were like, yo, we made our own gap in the market, and they dropped the Outback. And they updated the Outback. And they were like, all the stuff that was great about the PA, way faster for open water. And
the
it's
Outback
like
is a killer.
The Outback is a home run. Now, I never buy one. I have no use for it. Home run.
Not now.
Home run. The 360 drive, that's a grand slam. I mean, yes, it has some problems, but when it works, grand slam.
Yeah.
The Crescent, they're like, we're not making
it right back.
Bro. We don't do that. They have a very specific intent with that kayak, and it's very obvious. Like, it is super obvious.
Yeah.
The light tackle too. Such a, like, CK Venture, like, all those have like a very clear, they're trying to do one thing very, very well, and they meet a need that's out there. I don't see the NAR. They were like, oh, well, people like pedal kayaks and they want to fish out of them. So we'll take some of the stuff that we liked, but then they were like, well, what makes the Hobie so good, like so much better and so worth the money? You didn't get any of that stuff, but then they charge you for it. You were like, like, what? And I feel like people got duped, like, because they marketed it pretty well and it looks really cool. But then when you get in it, you're like, oh, I don't know. This wasn't exactly maybe what I thought it was. And it's because I don't think they really had a concept of what they were trying to do with that kayak. I think they're just trying to make like a big kayak.
Yeah, and it's fast. That's the one thing. It is very fast, and that's kind of what they've marketed on it now. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It just there were some missteps there, and they've admitted to that, obviously. But it's still like now they brought back the big rig, which is what the NAR replaced. So now you got two kayaks in that $4,000 price point that kind of, now you're wondering, okay, what's better for which person, and then in that spot there. So
you pick the color. Yeah. And but I mean, a fast boat is Bonafide. Those are fast. Yeah. They trimmed them up. Those are freaking fast. And they are way less than a NAR. And they have a better weight to capacity ratios, way better. And they have way more thought out details on front mount anchors, rear mount anchors. All the interior pre-built stuff is way better than what the NAR has. Like, I'm not even a huge Bonafide fan, and I'd do a Bonafide. I'd buy two of them before I'd even think about buying a NAR.
I don't like the P127 being at the price point that it's at, though. It's like $3,300. That price blows my mind.
That one's been one that's kind of fell. That was never as popular as even I thought it was. It's very underrated, but it gets lost in all of the other stuff that they offer between. Of course, Native and Bonafide are part of the same company.
Yep.
So it's you basically put a propel drive on a SS127, and for years they were asking, when that little gear pod that comes out, is that what your pedal drive goes into? Like, well, no, they don't have a pedal drive. And then when they come out with a pedal drive, we're thinking, all right, people were lose their mind over that.
They were
and it really, it kind of, everyone I know that's got one bought it secondhand. Window fishing, he bought his secondhand for $2,000. You know, and honestly, 2,600 is probably where that kayak needs to be, I think. But
it really does. That's what upset me about it. Is like, I was not impressed at all at that price point. It's okay, but like,
bringing all that stuff down. Think about all that.
Yeah, Old Town's just
Old Town, dude. Like, I know I'm a homer.
When people look like past Old Town, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's always going to be a clutch. I would always grab a 106 or a 120 over the P127. You can never get me to go the other way. The P127 is just not it. I think if you're going with those two companies being essentially one company, it's like, if I want the paddle I'm going SS 127. If I want the river, you got the RVR.
Yeah.
It's great. If you want loaded up, you got the PWR, put the XI3 on it.
Yeah.
But if you want pedal, you just go native. You don't get that.
Yeah.
And then you also be okay with being very wet because it's going to have a lot of water in it, which I'm trying to figure out. Honestly, like we talked about it a little bit maybe early before we started the show, like that native taking on the amount of water that it takes on is absurd. And everybody's got a mod for it. But I've done those mods and they don't work as well as everybody says they do.
It used to be a lot worse too. It used to be a lot worse.
That's what I've heard. Like
yeah.
it's manageable, but it's I regularly it's an inch. And then when we were on our trip before I did any of these mods, it was like 2 inches of water up there. And it creeps up to the rod tubes.
Yeah.
Which they slanted up high enough out of the way that for the most part you're gonna be fine. And they capped the rod tubes on the inside. So water's not going inside the hull, which is obviously a good idea. Like, let's not do that. But still, it's like, it's a lot of water. But these mods that people are putting out, they're saying like drill a hole in it, put these ocean kayak scupper valves into the plugs, the scupper plugs that the native has, because there's no water transfer in those. It doesn't work the way people talk about. And all they do is a shop video where you're like, see, it's done and now it's perfect, but I never see them use it on the water, which I did this weekend. And I can tell you that mod doesn't work as well as you think it does. It's about 50% better, which is improvement. Yeah. But it's not, you're not clear of water. So I just ordered from a tiny company this G3 scupper valve from Kayak Scupper Plugs. That's the name of the business. And I'm going to be testing those out. I can't say they work or don't work. So don't call me out on it, but I'm going to try them out. It's their third generation of this, and supposedly that'll work. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we've got you about an hour 30 here. So, man, just definitely appreciate y'all coming on. You know, again, I know we're all busy here, but definitely appreciate you taking the time coming on here. And you know, guys, look forward to talking with you in the future here. Maybe you figure out some stuff with your current setups and want to share with the world. I'd definitely love to get that out to you, man.
Got a lot of kayak vids coming up. So yeah, we'll be doing some stuff.
Keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, I love what y'all do because you do both education and entertaining. And I think those are the two things. People either need to do one or the other or both. And I think you guys are one of the few that do both really well. Some people try to do over the top with stuff. And then some people try to really nerd out on the specs and and all that. And it said, it just glazed over. You lost people in the first, but you guys do a really good job. I definitely enjoy watching your videos. Always have. Thank you. And definitely look forward to seeing what's coming down the road from you guys.
Appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having us on. I mean, it's been fun.
No problem at all, man. No problem. All right, guys. Well, we'll go and let you go. And as always, man, appreciate you guys coming by, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Later, Rose.
See you.